today's discussion on the article, Differentiated Discussion, How Adult Education Programs Can Foster a Learning Culture That Meets Individual Needs of Adult Students. I'm Danielle Cox, Chair of COABE's Prison Literacy Committee and Director of Maryland Department of Labor's Correctional Education Division. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and introduce our guest of honor. If you can go ahead and introduce yourself, Teddy.
Hi, my name is Teddy Edouard, and I have been in education for over 22 years now, and I currently play the role of systems and learning coach at Coaching for Better Learning. And I also do other type of work that relates to publishing and also public speaking.
Great, great. So I have to say that as someone who has been a teacher or a principal, a curriculum developer, now an administrator within adult education, correctional education field, that your article truly hit home to what we do as educators. Differentiated learning is pivotal to learning in that environment. Can you just tell me a little bit about why you wrote this article for COABE's Differentiated Learning Differences Journal?
Yeah, so I saw the COABE announcement, and when I saw the call for proposal for the articles, and I said, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to share some of what I have been doing in the field, and to really share some of the ideas that I have been working on for over the past few years. Differentiated instruction is really the core, the core of my article. This is what it is all about: how you promote differentiated instruction in the classroom. And the main reason I wrote it for COABE is to really share share this idea with administrators and instructors. The reason I wanted to share, to really develop and unpack a differentiated instruction for teachers and administrators, it's for several reasons. Number one, I know that administrators, a lot of time, they are busy doing everything they're doing, and I know what it takes because I used to be a program administrator as well. It takes a lot. They are busy looking for, grant money, managing the grant money, managing teachers, all of that. So my article provides them with a clear framework, some guidelines they can follow to really promote differentiated instruction in the classroom that will benefit individual students. So my reasoning was, okay, when we have students coming to our program, we need to treat them as one, not as, oh, let's teach for the average student. Let's prepare a program for the average student. We're going to buy books. We're going to plan lesson for the average student. It's the notion that we group students together and we develop materials that will really address the need of the average of the group. And for me as a coach, based on my experience, it doesn't really help program. If a program wants to maximize the performance, if they want to stand out in the crowd, they need to treat every single student as an individual. Absolutely. Who is different, who has specific needs, who wants to learn specific things. That being said, my article provides administrators that guideline to address individual student needs. And at the same time, what I try to do in the article is to to show administrator how they can use my guideline to really educate and train their teachers by creating a system that covers the need, that addresses the need for the training, and at the same time providing the system calls for providing incentive to encourage teachers to promote, to use differentiated instruction in the classroom so that they can meet student individual needs and meet student where they are and to set them up for success.
Wonderful. So how will adult education practitioners benefit from reading your article? And how will that benefit their learners ultimately?
So the main goal, my main goal is to really write an article that will benefit students. Everything in the article, everything I write about, every single paragraph, if you read it, you will realize that, okay, this should lead to student benefits. Number one, administrators will be able to understand what differentiated instruction is and what it is not. So I unpacked it to make sure that TAA readers can get the ABC of instruction of differentiated instruction. And the way I do it, I break the article into really section. I go over the different aspect of, I first define a differentiated instruction, and I also break it into section where I I write about how it can be done. I talk about, how you take the content, you take the process, and you take the product of your classroom, how you can differentiate each one of them. So that way, a program can say, or an administrator can say, well, I cannot do all of that. I cannot really differentiate a full class, but at least they can start somewhere. They can at least start with, okay, let me differentiate my content in this class. Since I'm teaching US history, so can I bring different perspective from the classroom? Can I give students also the opportunity to learn about historical event that they are interested in? Or should I just tell them, hey, this is what you should be learning, and that's it? The same thing for math, the same thing for science. Now, on the other hand, what teachers, what they can get is that if the administrators follow the guideline, they can help the teachers find training, or they can purchase training or invite a consultant to come and help the teachers really develop that skills. A teacher who is able to develop a differentiated lesson for a classroom of adult student is what I would call a highly proficient teacher. As a coach, I know one when I see one. A teacher who can see every individual student in the classroom as one individual with specific interests, specific needs. This is the kind of teacher when you let's say when you hear the bell, when somebody rang the bell to end the class, the student, they're not rushing to get out. They're just like, oh wow, I wish we could have, we could have another minute to discuss this, because everybody's working on things that are of interest to them. So my hope is administrators can help teachers really train themselves, find the resources they need to really develop the skills to know or to use differentiated instruction. And at the end of the day, if the teachers know how to differentiated instruction, when I say instruction, I mean content, product, process, I know that will benefit student a great deal. Because in adult education, one of the challenges we face is student retention. So, and when the class is interesting, when the class is meeting student need, so really a student retention is not an issue that any teacher will worry about. because the student are getting what they need.
So throw a curveball at you. What about if they were correctional students? Would there be any other anything that you would have to do differently with differentiated instruction if it was an adult education student who was in a correctional environment?
Not really. I know there are limitations that come with the correctional environment. So the teacher will need to operate, the teacher and the administrator will need to operate within those limits. For example, there's different kind of technology or exposure the student might not be able to have. But regardless of where your students are in correction, in the correctional facility where they are, they're still individual with interests, with needs, and they still like to talk about what they want and what they need. So that's what differentiated instruction is all about. The content you're going to present to the student, the product they're going to work on, they're going to develop, and the way you're going to really assess what they're going to do. So if you look at it, you tell yourself, okay, in the facility where the students are, do I teach them? Yes, you teach. Do you use content? Do you use process? Do you use product? If you use these things, there's always opportunity to give the students a chance to really do something or access the content the way they want, practice the content the way they want, and even show you their own understanding of the content the way they prefer. There's always an opportunity for them to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I always find something they're interested in, right?
Correct.
That's one thing that
that's what
mm-hmm.
education is all about.
Absolutely. What do you hope your readers will take away from the article?
So I hope that number one, the guidelines that I provide in the article will help clarify for the readers what they can do to implement a differentiated instruction in the classroom, how that they can differentiate content, process, and product. So that's number one. Number two, I also debunked the myth that differentiated instruction is like grouping, just grouping. So in the article, I addressed that. I specifically spent some time addressing this myth that, oh, if I group my student, if they're working in groups, so I'm differentiating my teaching. So this is not the same. Mm-hmm. So ability grouping, things like that, they're not necessarily differentiated instruction. Does differentiated instruction include grouping? Yes, but not the way it is done randomly every day in the classroom. So I hope these teachers will get a sense, they will really get clarification on this aspect. Number three, I would also hope they especially instructor, they will get enough information to help them really start working on starting somewhere. They can or either follow the guidelines in the article to start maybe taking small step like differentiated content, bringing different type of perspective in the classroom, different level of content, different level of rigor to allow student at different level to access the content. And I would also hope that they can, take time to read what I wrote on the process and the product, which is really, I don't want to say very easy, but it's common sense that if I want to make my class practice a core content, I should be able to give different students different ways of practicing the content depending on what they like. The same thing for product evaluation. I can decide to assess my student using different medium based on what I know they like. So I'm hoping they can get that. Overall, I would say I would like, my hope is that administrators, after they read this article, they would look at their classroom environment from a system standpoint. Like the class is really a system where you have different elements working together. So we can leverage different aspects of the class to do different things. For example, bringing content into the class, it's one thing. I can differentiate the content if I want to, and then I can take what I do from that aspect using the content, and I bring it into the process of getting students to practice language or math or a reading, history, science, all of that. So I can sync those things together by giving student option, and then use different medium to assess what they know, what they are able to do. So it's a system that work together. So the way it is, it's not like I want to teach a class where the content is really isolated from what happened in the practice and then what happened in the production. I keep them together. And one core theme, one core piece that teachers and administrators can leverage is really tap into student interest.
Mhm.
To really motivate them to do more, to learn more, and to participate more in the learning process.
Right. Absolutely. And I think the one thing that I took away from it is that it just is so easy, right? And
It is.
it is. I think that once teachers read this, and they'll get those aha moments, right? And they'll
Yeah.
realize that it will be very easy to implement, and they'll see it rewarded immediately by their students enjoying, learning. And I love what you said about when the bell rings, they'll not just jump up and go, right?
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
want to stay.
Yeah.
They'll want
And
to keep learning.
and I would say though, although it is really natural, that's if you look at differentiating instruction, it's a natural process of
Right.
teaching. It's how people are. It's who people are in general in the world. You don't sit down and watch a movie you don't like.
Right.
You don't go to the store and say, well, sell me anything I can get.
Right.
Nobody does that. So we cannot expect our student to go into a classroom and say, hey, sit down, I'm going to give you something, whether you like it or not, just live with that. Okay.
Exactly.
So the challenge for teachers are that differentiated instruction really it's for proficient teachers, people who are really dedicated to the job, because it requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
You have to be able to look at your content and break it down, or a source content that will meet different student need at different level. That's one thing. Also, the teachers need to be able to find a way to create different ways to help student practice knowledge content. So because of that, it's easier to follow the traditional way of teaching a class, where you say, everybody sit down, take your notebook, take notes, do this, and then it's over. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Yep. It's easy. It's a lot easier. But are we getting the students what they need when we do it like that? Right. Or are we, as administrators, instructors, programs, are we keeping our promises to our students when we say, come to us, we're going to help you, succeed, we're going to lead you to your dream, but we just give you whatever we think it's okay. But I know there is a better way. Right. There is a better way. And differentiated instruction, as I wrote in the article, is one of the best way to show student, look, I care for you. I know you are a person. You have your own goal. You have your personal interests, and you have things that you need that I don't even know what they are. So help me help you learn those things. That's what differentiated instruction is all about. And to bridge that with academia, in academia, what we do when we do research as researcher, or if you go to a PhD program, you don't go to do what the school wants you to do. Otherwise, you will not succeed, because in a PhD program, the school is expecting you to come and develop your own research proposal to tell them what you want to do.
Right.
So that's the best way to exemplify a differentiated instruction. In a research university, every scholar, every PhD student you meet, you can talk to them. Not two of them are working on the same subject. Even though they hang out with the same professors, they sometimes take the same classes, but not two of them are working on the same dissertation topic. Is it?
Right.
That's how interesting this thing can get. If we really take that philosophy, that approach, we take it to adult education. This is an excellent way to tell our student, you're going to learn history, but yay, take it wherever you want, and I'll be with you.
Well, do you have any other additional comments you'd like to share with us?
Well, my final comments are, I would encourage administrators to really read, to get this journal, to read this article. I would it for them. I put some nights, some hours at the library, to work on it. It's not because I write it, I want them to read it. There are plenty of research out there that really support the idea that differentiated instruction helps students stay in class and motivate them to learn. Mm-hmm. And I would hope that our teachers and our administrators in adult education can take advantage of this approach, right, to really maximize their student learning and set them on for success. I also encourage teachers to read it. Read the article, and I think my contact information would be at the end of the article. So if you have any question, anything you don't agree with, anything you want to discuss, shoot me an email, and then let's go to Starbucks.
And I will say, there is a lot out there on differentiated instruction, but you did a great job on putting a new spin on it, and really giving us a great outlook on it. So thank you. I truly enjoyed reading it, and thank you very much. And I enjoyed this conversation too today.
I enjoyed chatting with you too. Thank you.
Thank you.